The mining station spun slowly against the backdrop of swirling purple gas clouds. Its lights blinked steadily, marking another peaceful cycle for the bright ones who called it home. Through the large observation window, Colony Leader Gray watched the distant stars, his luminescent skin casting a soft glow on the glass. Everything seemed normal until the first shadow passed across the stars. At first, he thought it was just space debris, common in this sector of the galaxy. But then another shadow appeared, and another. His auxiliary eyes focused on the movement, and his heart sank. The shapes were too regular, too purposeful. Ships. Pirates. Alert status. Gray called out, his voice steady despite the fear building inside him. The station's warning lights shifted from calm blue to urgent yellow. Around him, his people moved with practiced grace, their glowing forms flowing between workstations like streams of living light. 7 vessels detected, announced the sensor operator, her voice trembling slightly. Configuration matches Dark Rim Raiders. They're forming an attack pattern. Gray had heard stories of the Dark Rim pirates. They were brutal raiders who preyed on peaceful mining colonies like theirs. The Bright Ones were not warriors. Their species had evolved past violence thousands of years ago. Their defense systems were minimal, designed to handle asteroids and space debris, not warships. The main screen flickered to life, revealing a harsh face with cybernetic implants crawling across scared skin. "Greetings, gentle miners," the pirate leader sneered. "This is your first and final warning. Surrender your station and your quantum ore deposits, and we might let you live as our workers." Gray stepped forward, his glow dimming with concern. "We are a peaceful colony. We have no weapons, no means to resist. Please, there must be a way to resolve this without." The pirate's laugh cut through his words. "No weapons? Perfect. You have 1 hour to prepare for our arrival. Don't try anything clever." The screen went dark. In the silence that followed, Gray made his decision. He moved to the communications array, his fingers dancing across the console. "This is Mining Station 724 broadcasting on all emergency frequencies. We are under attack by Dark Rim pirates. Our colony has no defensive capabilities. Any nearby vessels, please respond. We have over 300 civilians aboard." The message shot out into space, repeating itself in various galactic languages. Minutes ticked by. The pirate ships drew closer, their weapons systems powering up, visible even at this distance. No response from any nearby Bright One vessels, the communications officer reported. Nearest patrol is 3 days away. Gray's glow flickered with resignation. Perhaps if they cooperated, some of his people might survive. He was about to give the order to prepare for boarding when a new signal cut through their communications. "Mining Station 724, this is Captain Walker of the HMS Thunder, Earth Defense Force. We have received your distress call and are inbound to your position. Hold tight." The bridge crew exchanged confused looks. Earth. The primitive world from the spiral arm. What could they possibly do against 7 pirate vessels? "Sir," the sensor operator called out, her voice filled with confusion. "I'm detecting a spatial distortion. Something big is coming through." The view outside the window changed as space itself seemed to bend. A massive ship emerged from what looked like a tear in reality. It was unlike anything Gray had ever seen, angular, aggressive in design, bristling with what could only be weapons. It was nearly twice the size of the largest pirate vessel. By the first light, someone whispered. The human ship's signal came through again, this time broadcasting on all frequencies, including the pirates' channels. "Dark Rim vessels, this is your only warning. Power down your weapons and withdraw from this sector immediately. This colony is now under Earth's protection. You have 5 minutes to comply." Gray watched in amazement as the human warship positioned itself between the station and the pirates, its presence alone radiating power and authority. Perhaps, he thought, watching the massive vessel's defensive systems coming online, Their distress call had brought them something far more interesting than simple rescue. The pirate leader's laughter filled the communication channels, but there was a hint of uncertainty in his voice. A human vessel? You must be joking. Go back to your little solar system before you get hurt. This is none of your business. On the mining station's bridge, Gray watched as the massive human ship held its position. The HMS Thunder's hull was dark gray, marked with strange symbols and numbers he didn't understand. Its design was completely different from any ship he had ever seen. No smooth curves or elegant lines, just brutal efficiency and purpose. Captain Walker, Gray transmitted carefully, "We appreciate your intervention, but these raiders have 7 ships. Perhaps it would be safer if—" "Thank you for your concern," Walker interrupted, his voice calm and professional. "But we've handled worse odds. Please maintain your position and try to keep your people calm." The pirates didn't wait any longer. 2 of their smaller ships broke formation, rushing toward the Thunder with weapons charging. Gray's people watched in horror, expecting to witness the human ship's destruction. Instead, they saw something that would change their understanding of warfare forever. The Thunder's response was immediate. Dozens of small points along its hull lit up simultaneously. What looked like simple surface features turned out to be weapon ports, each tracking the approaching vessels with perfect precision. The human ship didn't move, didn't try to dodge. It didn't need to. "Last warning," Walker announced, his voice now carrying an edge of steel. "Stand down or be destroyed. We won't ask again." The pirate ships opened fire, their energy weapons lighting up space with brilliant purple beams. Gray held his breath, but the shots never reached the Thunder. Small, fast-moving objects shot out from the human vessel, intercepting every single attack. Point defense systems, Gray realized, but far more advanced than anything he had ever seen. "Disappointing," Walker said. The Thunder's response was devastating in its simplicity. 4 brief flashes of light, and both pirate ships spun out of control, their engines dead, weapons disabled. They weren't destroyed, just neutralized with surgical precision. The remaining pirate vessels held their position, clearly reassessing the situation. The pirate leader's face appeared on the screen again, but this time his cybernetic eye was twitching. "Who are you people? Those were our best ships." "Captain James Walker, Earth Defense Force," came the calm reply. "And those were warning shots. Would you like to see what we can do when we're actually trying?" To demonstrate his point, new sections of the Thunder's hull began to slide open. What emerged made Gray's auxiliary eyes widen in disbelief. Small craft, dozens of them, each about the size of a mining shuttle but bristling with weapons. They formed up in perfect formations around the Thunder, moving with impossible precision. "Fighter squadrons," one of Gray's crew whispered in awe. They brought an entire fleet inside their ship. The pirate leader's composure cracked. His remaining ships began to pull back slowly, trying to maintain their weapons lock on the Thunder while retreating. "This isn't over," he snarled. "We'll remember this interference." "No," Walker replied. "You won't have to remember it. Because if you ever come near this colony again, it will be the last decision you make. The Mining Federation is now under Earth's protection. Spread the word." The pirates finally broke formation, their ships turning to flee at full speed. The Thunder's fighters didn't pursue, instead performing a complex aerial dance as they returned to their bays, showing off maneuvers that seemed to defy physics. Gray's bridge was silent, his crew still processing what they had just witnessed. He opened a channel to the Thunder. "Captain Walker, that was incredible. We've never seen anything like it. How can we repay you?" Walker's reply carried a smile. "No payment needed. We responded to a distress call. Nothing more. Though if you're interested, I think it's time we had a proper talk about Earth joining your mining federation. We have a lot to offer each other." The human captain's words hung in the air as Gray looked at his crew. Their glowing forms pulsed with excitement and curiosity. Perhaps, he thought, This was the beginning of something much bigger than a simple rescue. The meeting room aboard the mining station hummed with nervous energy as Captain Walker stepped through the airlock. He was shorter than the bright ones expected, but he moved with the quiet confidence of someone used to command. His dark blue uniform was simple but neat, decorated with only a few metal pins that caught the light from the glowing aliens around him. Gray studied the human with all four of his eyes. Walker's species might be new to deep space, but there was something about them that felt ancient, tested. The way the captain carried himself reminded Gray of tools that had been forged in fire, shaped by countless challenges. "The pirates will return," Walker said, getting straight to the point. He placed a small device on the table that projected a map of nearby space. "They're gathering more ships as we speak. Our sensors picked up their communications." One of the colony's elders, Shine, moved forward, her light dimming with worry. "But you drove them away so easily. Surely they wouldn't dare attack again." Walker's expression remained serious. "They're afraid now, which makes them dangerous. They'll come back with everything they have, trying to prove they're not weak. That's why we're staying." The announcement sent ripples of surprise through the gathered bright ones. Their skin patterns shifted through shades of blue and green, showing their mixed emotions. "You would do this for us?" Gray asked. "When we're not even part of your federation?" "Humanity has a saying," Walker replied, touching some controls on the map device. Red dots appeared, showing enemy positions. "The best time to make friends is before you need them. The second best time is when they need you." The human captain continued his explanation, pointing out defensive positions and explaining his strategy. The bright ones listened in fascination as Walker described concepts their species had abandoned ages ago. Tactical advantages, strategic choke points, force multiplication. "Your station's design actually gives us an advantage," Walker noted, highlighting different sections of their home. "These maintenance tubes you use for repairs, perfect for setting up crossfire positions. The ore processing chambers, natural bottlenecks." "But we have no weapons," one of the younger council members pointed out. "No way to help defend ourselves." Walker smiled for the first time since entering the room. "That's where you're wrong. Your mining equipment, your tools for breaking down ore, your gravity manipulators for moving cargo. These aren't weapons, but they can be used for defense. Sometimes the best weapon is something the enemy doesn't recognize as a weapon." The humans' words sparked something in the bright ones. Their ancestors, before they had evolved past violence, had been resourceful fighters. Perhaps some of that knowledge still lingered in their collective memory. A sudden alert from the station's sensors interrupted their planning. The pirates were moving faster than expected. Long-range scans showed 20 ships this time, including some that were clearly stolen military vessels. "They're desperate to save face," Walker commented, studying the data. "Good. Desperate enemies make mistakes." He touched his communication device. "Thunder, begin Operation Lighthouse." Gray watched in amazement as the human ship started moving in a way that should have been impossible for its size. It weaved between the station's orbital lanes, dropping small objects at precise points in space. Each object soon disappeared from normal view, becoming invisible to standard sensors. "What are those?" Shine asked, her curiosity overtaking her worry. "Surprises," Walker replied. "Your people might have chosen to move past warfare, but humans, we learned to turn peace into a weapon too. Sometimes the best way to end a fight is to make your enemy realize that starting one would be their last mistake." The captain stood up, straightening his uniform. "Now we have about 2 hours before they arrive. I need you to show my engineers every maintenance tunnel, every processing chamber, and every piece of mining equipment you have. We're going to teach your station to defend itself." Gray found himself glowing brighter with newfound hope. The humans weren't just protecting them. They were teaching them how to protect themselves. As he led Walker through the station's corridors, he realized that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their advanced ships or clever tactics. It was their ability to take peace-loving miners and show them how to become something the pirates would never expect. The pirate fleet dropped out of high speed just outside the mining station's orbital path. 20 ships, their weapons already hot, arranged themselves in an attack formation. Their leader, now calling himself Deathbringer instead of Red Eye, broadcast his message across all channels. Humans, you've had your fun. Now witness what happens when you interfere in matters that don't concern you. All ships, open fire. The pirate vessels fired together, launching a wave of energy weapons and missiles that lit up space like a new sun. On the mining station's bridge, Gray watched with his secondary hearts pounding. But Captain Walker, standing next to him, didn't even flinch. "Right on schedule," Walker said quietly. "Thunder, activate the net." The invisible objects the human ship had dropped earlier suddenly revealed themselves. They were small diamond-shaped devices that began to glow with a soft blue light. As the pirates' attack reached them, something incredible happened. The energy weapons and missiles didn't explode or impact. They simply disappeared. "Quantum field generators," Walker explained to the amazed Bright Ones. "They don't stop attacks. They redirect them into empty space." The pirates just wasted 30% of their ammunition shooting at nothing. Deathbringer's enraged voice filled the communications. "Impossible. All ships, move in closer. We'll blast through whatever trick they're using." The pirate fleet surged forward. But this was exactly what Walker had been waiting for. "Time to show them why you don't ignore mining equipment. Now, please." Gray pressed the control panel in front of him, activating the changes the humans had helped them make. Every ore processor on the station's outer ring powered up at once. These machines were designed to break down space rocks using focused gravity beams. Now, those same beams shot out into space, creating zones of chaotic gravitational force. 3 pirate ships, caught completely by surprise, spun out of control as their artificial gravity failed. Their crews, suddenly weightless, couldn't reach their controls. Another 2 ships crashed into each other, their navigation systems confused by the gravitational distortions. "Impressive," Walker nodded to Gray. "Your mining tools make excellent defensive weapons. Thunder, begin Phase 2. The human warship, which had been hiding behind the station, now made its move. It accelerated through the chaos with perfect precision, its advanced computers calculating safe paths through the gravity distortions. The ship's weapon ports opened, but this time they didn't fire energy weapons. Instead, they released clouds of metallic dust. "What good is dust against warships?" one of Gray's crew asked. The answer came seconds later. The dust clouds reached the pirate ships just as the HMS Thunder fired a series of electromagnetic pulses. The metal particles lit up like chains of lightning, conducting the energy directly to the pirates' hulls. Ship after ship lost power, their systems overloaded by the clever combination of simple mining materials and human military technology. "Hold on," Walker commanded as he watched the battle unfold. "Here comes their desperate move." He was right. Deathbringer's flagship, larger than all the others, pushed through the chaos. It was charging its main weapon, a massive energy cannon that could vaporize half the station. But Walker had predicted this too. "Release the drones," he ordered. Small maintenance robots, normally used to repair the station's outer hull, swarmed out in hundreds. The humans had reprogrammed them with new instructions. They attached themselves to the flagship's hull, using their mining lasers to cut precise holes in specific places. Within seconds, the huge ship's weapon powered down as its energy systems were systematically dismantled. The battle was over in minutes. The pirate fleet hung in space, dead or disabled, their fearsome reputation shattered by mining tools and maintenance robots. Captain Walker opened a channel to the few ships that still had working communications. "This is how Earth fights," he announced calmly. "We don't just use weapons. We use our minds. We turn your strengths into weaknesses. We make peaceful tools into defensive systems. Remember this lesson, because next time, we won't be so gentle." Gray looked at the human captain with new understanding. His people had thought they were above warfare, but the humans had shown them something different. They had shown them that defending peace sometimes required cleverness rather than violence. Looking at the disabled pirate fleet, Gray realized that the galaxy would never be the same after today. The HMS Thunder's shuttle bay opened to receive the captured pirate leaders. Deathbringer, no longer looking so fearsome, was led in chains made of simple mining cable. His cybernetic implants were offline, disabled by the human's electromagnetic attack. Behind him shuffled 5 other pirate captains, their faces showing a mixture of anger and fear. Walker stood in the bay, his hands clasped behind his back. Next to him, Gray watched as the pirates were brought forward. The human captain's face showed no triumph, no celebration, only calm purpose. "Your ships are disabled," Walker stated simply. "Your weapons are destroyed. Your crews are being detained. Now, we talk." Deathbringer spat on the deck. "Talk? You tricked us. Used mining tools like weapons. That's not how real warriors fight." Walker's laugh surprised everyone. "Real warriors? Let me tell you about real warriors." He stepped forward, his voice carrying across the bay. "Humanity spent thousands of years fighting ourselves. We learned every possible way to wage war, and you know what we discovered. The best warriors aren't the ones with the biggest guns." He gestured to the viewing window where the disabled pirate fleet drifted lifelessly. "The best warriors are the ones who can turn anything into an advantage, who can look at a mining laser and see a defense system, who can take maintenance robots and use them to disable a warship." One of the other pirate captains spoke up, his voice curious despite his situation. "But your ship, the Thunder, it's more advanced than anything we've seen. Why didn't you just destroy us?" "Because that's not the point," Walker replied. "Humanity learned something important from all our wars. The goal isn't to destroy your enemy. It's to make them understand why they shouldn't be your enemy in the first place." Gray watched as the humans' words seemed to sink in. These pirates had probably never faced an opponent who tried to teach rather than just destroy. Walker continued his explanation, pacing slowly in front of the captured leaders. "Every piece of technology on my ship was developed because we had to solve problems. We learned to redirect energy weapons because we couldn't always block them. We developed gravity manipulation because we needed to travel through dangerous space. Everything you saw today wasn't just military technology. It was survival technology." The bay doors opened again, and several of Gray's people entered, carrying medical supplies. The pirates tensed, but Walker held up a hand. "They're here to treat your wounded. The Bright Ones are healers by nature. Another kind of strength you never bothered to understand." Deathbringer watched in confusion as his injured crew members received careful medical attention from the very people they had tried to rob. "I don't understand you humans," he muttered. "You have the power to destroy us, but you choose not to. You could take our ships, but instead you disable them. What do you want?" Walker smiled, but it was a serious expression. "We want you to go home and tell everyone what happened here. Tell them how a single human ship defeated 20 pirate vessels without destroying any of them. Tell them how we turned mining equipment into defensive weapons. But most importantly, tell them this: humanity is joining the galactic community, and we protect our friends." Gray stepped forward then, his glow brightening with purpose. "Captain Walker, my people have made a decision. We want to formally request Earth's protection for all Bright One colonies, and we want to learn from you." The human captain turned to Gray, raising an eyebrow. "Learn from us? I thought your people had given up warfare." "We have," Gray replied. "But you've shown us that protecting peace isn't the same as being helpless. You've shown us that wisdom can be a better weapon than any gun." Walker nodded slowly, understanding. Around them, the pirate leaders watched and listened, witnessing something they had never expected: the beginning of an alliance between the most peaceful species in the galaxy and one of its most capable warriors. "Very well," Walker said. "We'll help you set up defense systems in all your colonies. But first," he turned back to the pirates, First, we need to make sure our friends here spread the word about exactly what happens when someone threatens the peace. News traveled fast in space. Within days of the battle, ships from across the galaxy began appearing at the edges of the mining colony's space. They kept their distance, but their sensors were all focused on the HMS Thunder, which had remained stationed near the colony. In the station's main conference room, Walker stood before a gathering of alien diplomats who had rushed to see the truth for themselves. Representatives from 12 different species sat around the table, their attention fixed on the human captain. "Is it true?" asked a tall, crystalline being from the Trade Federation. "You defeated the Dark Rim fleet using mining equipment." Walker nodded, but it was Gray who answered. "Not just defeated. They taught us how to protect ourselves. The humans showed us that peace doesn't mean weakness." The room buzzed with conversation. A screen on the wall showed live feeds from across the galaxy. The pirate leaders had indeed spread the word, but not in the way anyone expected. Instead of warnings about human warfare, they talked about human wisdom, about a species that could have destroyed them but chose not to. "We've received 67 requests for protection treaties in the last 2 days," Walker said, checking his datapad. "But that's not what Earth wants. We're not here to be guardians. We're here to be teachers." A reptilian diplomat leaned forward, scales shifting with interest. "Teachers, what could primitives from a backwater world teach us about galactic civilization?" Walker smiled and pressed a button on the table. A hologram appeared, showing the modified mining station. "We can teach you how to use what you already have. Every species here has something unique to offer. The bright ones are natural healers. The crystal folk are living mathematics. The storm riders can predict space weather. But you've all forgotten something important." He paused, letting his words sink in. "You've forgotten how to adapt, how to look at a tool and see 5 different ways to use it. Humanity spent its history having to adapt, having to think differently just to survive. Now we want to share that knowledge." The room grew quiet as Walker's words hit home. Many of these species had grown comfortable with their roles in the galaxy. They had specialized, become experts in their fields, but had lost the ability to think beyond their normal boundaries. An alert sounded, and one of Gray's crew members rushed in. Ships approaching. At least 30 vessels, heavily armed. But Walker didn't seem concerned. Instead, he turned to the gathered diplomats. "Watch what happens when you combine the talents of different species." On the main screen, they could see the approaching fleet. But this time, the colony was ready. The Bright One's natural ability to manipulate light combined with human tactical systems created a field of false images, confusing the attacker's sensors. Mining equipment, modified with crystal folk focusing technology, created an impenetrable web of gravitational distortions. The HMS Thunder moved into position, but it wasn't alone. Several of the diplomatic vessels, impressed by what they had seen, moved to join it. Each brought their own unique capabilities to the defense. "This is what humanity offers," Walker announced as the attacking fleet struggled to make sense of what they were facing. Not just protection, but understanding. Not just weapons, but wisdom. The attack never really began. The approaching ships, faced with defenses they couldn't understand and a coalition they hadn't expected, turned and fled. The gathered diplomats watched in amazement as their combined capabilities proved stronger than any single military force. Gray stepped forward, his glow bright with pride and hope. "This is what the humans taught us. Strength isn't about having the biggest fleet or the most powerful weapons. It's about understanding how to use what you have and how to work together." Walker nodded in agreement. Earth is joining the galactic community not as a warrior race, not as conquerors, but as innovators. We've spent our history learning how to overcome challenges, how to think differently, how to turn weaknesses into strengths. Now we want to share that knowledge with anyone willing to learn. As the diplomatic meeting turned into an impromptu alliance discussion, Gray realized that the galaxy was changing. The humans hadn't just saved their mining colony, they had shown the galaxy a new way forward, a way that combined peace with protection, wisdom with strength. 3 months after the battle at Mining Station 724, the galaxy had changed in ways nobody could have predicted. The station itself had become something of a legend, a symbol of what happened when humanity decided to answer a distress call. Gray stood at his familiar spot by the observation window, but the view was different now. Small ships moved back and forth between the station and the newly constructed Earth Embassy. The massive structure floated nearby, its design a perfect blend of human efficiency and alien aesthetics. Even now, Gray couldn't help but smile at how it had all turned out. Behind him, the station's corridors buzzed with activity. Representatives from 20 different species walked alongside human teachers, learning and sharing knowledge. In one section, human engineers worked with crystal folk scientists, combining their understanding of energy fields. In another, Bright One healers collaborated with human doctors, discovering how their different approaches to medicine could work together. Still hard to believe, isn't it? Walker's voice came from behind him. The captain had returned for the official opening of the new Human-Alien Cooperation Center. He was wearing a diplomatic uniform now, having been promoted after the events of the station. The pirates did us a favor, in the end, Gray replied, his glow pulsing gently. Without their attack, we might never have discovered what humanity had to offer. Walker moved to stand beside him, watching as a group of former pirate ships, now converted into training vessels, practiced new defense maneuvers. The pirates who had chosen to reform were learning to protect the very colonies they once raided, using the same innovative techniques that had defeated them. "Did you hear about Deathbringer?" Walker asked, a slight smile on his face. Gray's secondary eyes blinked with interest. "No, what happened?" "He's teaching combat tactics at the new academy. Turns out, once he understood our philosophy, he became one of its biggest supporters. Says it's more challenging to disable an enemy without destroying them than to simply blow them up." Their conversation was interrupted by a soft chime. The station's new defense system was activating, but not because of an attack. A massive ship was dropping out of faster-than-light travel nearby. It was the first of Earth's new diplomatic vessels, built with cooperation from 6 different alien species. The ship was beautiful in a way neither human nor alien vessels had been before. It incorporated the natural grace of Bright One architecture, the crystalline precision of the Trade Federation, and the robust functionality of human design. Its name, displayed in multiple languages along its hull, read Unity. "That's not just a ship," Walker said quietly. "That's the future." Every species contributed something to its construction. Even the pirates helped, showing us how to defend against the very tactics they once used. Gray watched as smaller vessels from various species approached the Unity, each one carrying students and diplomats eager to learn. The ship would serve as a traveling academy, spreading the combined knowledge of humanity and their new allies across the galaxy. "You never wanted an empire, did you?" Gray asked, finally understanding. "All those protection treaties other species offered." Walker shook his head. "Earth had enough of empires in our history. We learned that the strongest alliances are built on mutual understanding and respect. When we answered your distress call, we weren't looking for subjects or servants. We were looking for friends." The station's main hall was filling up for the upcoming ceremony. Representatives from hundreds of colonies would watch as the first graduating class of the new academy received their certifications. They weren't soldiers or warriors. They were problem solvers, trained to see beyond the obvious and find peaceful solutions to violent problems. "And to think," Gray mused, his glow brightening with amusement, "it all started because some pirates didn't believe a human war vessel could be a threat." Walker laughed. "That's the thing about humanity that most species don't understand at first. Our greatest weapon was never our ships or our technology. It was our ability to take everything we learned from thousands of years of conflict and turn it into something better, something that could build instead of destroy." Together, they watched as more ships arrived for the ceremony. Each one represented a species that had once thought itself complete, perfect in its own way. Now they all came to learn from each other, to share their strengths and help others overcome their weaknesses. The galaxy had expected humanity to be either warriors or weaklings. Instead, they had become teachers, showing everyone that true strength lay not in the ability to win wars, but in the wisdom to make them unnecessary.